So it looked like her former coach Lisa Bluder had some words for Washington Mystic owner.
Nobody anticipated the enormous reaction that was triggered by a single word regarding Time magazine when the Mystics. The owner attempted to minimize Caitlin Clark's remarkable accomplishment. After 4 years of watching Clark break records, Lisa Bluder entered the ring and wasn't going to allow anybody take away her former star's spotlight. Now that the Fever will play the Mystics in their first game, BL's fierce defense of Clark has the basketball. The world is humming. When Dan Patrick made the comparison between Caitlin Clark and Wayne Gretzky, he was spot on. This isn't just about basketball anymore. We're witnessing a phenomenon that will completely alter the women's sports scene. However, before we get into that shocking interview, let's discuss what first sparked this whole thing.
Maybe what she said really will win over the WNBA that's been bullying her mercilessly because she's white and earning. Maybe I was just too dense to see it. And Caitlin is very clever. And actually, the league is really going to get behind her now and say, you know what? She is the best. She earned this honor. Let's watch.
And this year, something clicked with the WNBA. And it's because of the draft of the players that came in. It's just not Caitlin Clark. It's Reese. We have so much talent out there that has been unrecognized.
When Caitlin Clark was featured on the cover of Time magazine, it should have been a celebration for all women's basketball players. But Sheila Johnson, the owner of the Washington Mystics, decided to put the entire WNBA on the cover instead of just Clark. At that point, Lisa Bluder, the coach who helped Clark become the superstar she is today, decided enough was enough.
You just said it, just named Time Player of the Year. I'm not sure if you're surprised, especially when you consider her impact, not only on the WNBA, but sports as a whole. So I feel like some still don't see it that way. Like you mentioned, there's always going to be haters. But when you hear things like what Washington Mystics co-owner Sheila Johnson said, criticizing the choice of Caitlin for that award, I mean, what was your reaction to that?
Oh, it's silly to me that anybody's trying to take away from something that's so good in your sport right now. I mean, this is a person that's really helped athletics, helped women's sport in a way that nobody has helped women's sports maybe since Billie Jean King. So let's get on the bandwagon and help her out, make her life a little bit easier because she is helping all of us. And sometimes, we used to tell our team, listen, when Caitlin's light shines on her, it shines on all of us. And I think everybody else needs to embrace that a little bit better.
In an interview that is currently going viral on social media, Bluder went beyond simply defending Clark. This person has truly helped. Bluder called out the criticism for what it was. It's foolish. You could hear the exasperation in her voice. Women's sports benefited from athletics in a way that no one else has, perhaps since Billie Jean King.
So one of the bizarre controversies of the last week is Caitlin Clark, who is the WNBA's only nameable star. Here, for example, is WNBA team owner Sheila Johnson. Here she is, ripping Caitlin Clark and the fan base for liking Caitlin Clark, saying it's only because Caitlin Clark is white.
Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover and said the WNBA is the league of the year because of all the talent that we have? Because when you just keep singling out one player, it creates hard feelings. And so now you're starting to hear stories of racism within the WNBA, and I don't want to hear that. We have got to operate and become stronger as a league and respect everybody that's playing and their talents.
Hey, you're not putting the entire WNBA on the cover because not everybody can fit and nobody knows who any of those people are. By the way, 31% apparently of the entire Washington Mystics ticket sales this year came in 2 games. I will give you a guess as to which player was featured in those 2 games.
Take a moment to consider that comparison. This is where it gets really interesting because Bluder revealed something that gives us a behind-the-scenes look at Iowa. She told her team that when Caitlin's light shines on her, it shines on all of us. This wasn't just coach speak. We're witnessing it happen in real time. Billie Jean King literally changed the game for women in sports. She fought for equal prize money, founded the Women's Tennis Association, and defeated Bobby Riggs in the Battle of the Sexes. Clark's achievements are elevating the sport as a whole. TV ratings are really high. Kids are wearing number 22 shirts wherever you look, arenas are selling out, and the timing of this whole thing couldn't be more dramatic or ideal as this verbal battle heats up. The WNBA announces their preseason schedule, and guess who the Indiana Fever are playing in their first game? You guessed it, the Washington Mystics. It seems like the WNBA schedule creators knew exactly what they were doing. This isn't just going to be a random preseason game anymore. The owner of the Mystics questioned Clark's impact, and now she has to watch as Clark might sell out her arena. That's the kind of irony you just can't script, but let's take a closer look at what BL's defense actually means. It's not just about defending a former player. Bluder witnessed Clark grow from a promising freshman into the most thrilling player women's basketball has ever seen. She was there for every milestone, every record, and every moment that had people comparing Clark to Steph Curry.
Come back, baby! Come back! I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. Everybody down. Everybody down. Can we get you for the trophy? Over here.
Since BL's interview was released, the basketball community has also taken notice, and support has been pouring in from all corners. Former players, coaches, and analysts are stepping up to confirm what we've all been witnessing. Caitlin Clark isn't just changing the game. She's revolutionizing it. Recall those final games at Iowa, where she wasn't just breaking records for women's basketball viewing. She was competing with NBA games, drawing in millions of viewers who had never seen women's basketball before. And they weren't just watching, they were becoming fans. This is what Bluder was attempting to convey when she said that Johnson should have included the entire WNBA on the Time cover, but she failed to see the wider picture. Not only is Clark a fantastic basketball player, but she is also a cultural phenomenon. Consider why Time chose her to receive that cover. The most intriguing aspect of Clark's story is how it highlights the various viewpoints within women's basketball. It wasn't just about the points, assists, or even the records. It was about the impact of a 22-year-old who is forcing people to reconsider what is feasible in women's sports. Bluder is aware of this and is defending it. You have the old guard, represented by individuals like Johnson, who appear concerned about preserving the status quo. And then there are individuals like Bluder, who understand that sometimes it only takes one exceptional talent to elevate everyone. The Indiana Fever have been trending constantly since Clark revealed she was entering the WNBA draft. Their social media following has skyrocketed. Season ticket inquiries are through the roof. And now, because of this controversy, their preseason games will be events. This is precisely what Bluder meant when she said that Clark's fame isn't detracting from other players or the league, but rather adding to it. Let's take a look at what Dan Patrick had to say about the whole situation. He compared Clark's impact to Wayne Gretzky joining the LA Kings, which wasn't just about bringing a great player to a new team. It was about transforming an entire sport's popularity. More eyes on Clark means more eyes on every player she competes against, and more attention on her games means more attention for the entire sport. Patrick made another excellent point about how we should stop apologizing for acknowledging Clark's greatness. He said that we should just accept that Caitlin Clark changed the WNBA. He's right. Every time Clark wins, someone tries to bring up some negative point in the conversation. It's time to let the wins be wins. The most fascinating aspect of all this controversy is how it has exposed the opposing viewpoints within women's basketball. Some people believe that Clark is a rising star who will help everyone, while others appear concerned that although the spotlight may be too intense. Here's the thing. The game of basketball is not a zero-sum one. Clark's success does not negate the accomplishments of others. Examine the current state of ticket sales. The Fever's first preseason game against the Mystics may sell out. When was the last time that happened? Their regular season schedule is experiencing the similar issue. Lil Blecker was attempting to convey that when you have a unique person who can create this kind of interest, you don't try to minimize it. Instead, you embrace it and build upon it, benefiting the entire league. Arenas are growing, seating costs are rising, and games are selling out months in advance. Consider the endorsement opportunities that will come in when someone brings the sport this much attention. Wilson recently inked Clark to a huge contract, making him the first player since Michael Jordan to have a signature basketball with the company. This is a win for women's basketball as well as for Clark, demonstrating to businesses that supporting women's sports can yield significant returns. Let's talk about those ratings for television. Not only did Clark's last collegiate games break women's basketball records, but they also competed against major athletic events in every category. The championship game attracted nearly 18 million viewers, which is not just a record, but a revolution. The thing about BL's defense of Clark is that it comes from a place of deep understanding. She watched Clark put in the work day after day. She saw the hours in the gym, the dedication to improving her game, the commitment to being not just great, but revolutionary. That's why she's not about to let anyone diminish what Clark has achieved. This whole situation with the Mystics owner has actually done something interesting. It's united a lot of people behind Clark, even folks who might have been skeptical before looking at this criticism and thinking really you're going to complain about someone bringing more attention to the league. The preseason schedule release just adds another layer of drama to all this. The WNBA knew exactly what they were doing, putting the Mystics first on Clark's schedule. It's like something out of a movie script. The owner questions your impact, and now you get to show up in their house and prove them wrong. But here's what makes this whole thing even more fascinating. People keep trying to compare Clark to other players, but that's missing the point. As one of Dan Patrick's co-hosts pointed out, the WNBA has had plenty of great players, but it hasn't had someone who transcends the sport the way Clark does. The merchandise numbers tell the story, too. Clark's Iowa jerseys were selling out everywhere, and her upcoming Fever jersey is predicted to be one of the best-selling jerseys in WNBA history before she's even played a game. This is the reason that Clark's defense in BL is so important. She is not only defending a former player, but also the notion that having transcendent stars in women's sports is acceptable. It's acceptable for someone to be extraordinary or for one player to grab the nation's imagination. Other coaches' reactions have been telling. Far too many have come forward too. When you look at the social media numbers, you can see that everyone in women's basketball benefits from this kind of attention and excitement. Echo Bluder sentiments acknowledge that what we're seeing with Clark is something special, and every highlight she plays goes viral and becomes a trending topic. People who had never watched women's basketball before are now ardent supporters. This is the kind of effect that goes beyond points and assists. The really exciting part is that this is just the beginning. Clark hasn't even played her first WNBA game, yet if she can generate this much attention, this much excitement, this much debate before even stepping on a professional court, imagine what's going to happen when she does that first preseason game against the Mystics. Isn't just going to be a game, it's going to be an event. Every seat will be filled, every eye will be on Clark, and thanks to this controversy, every basket she makes will feel like a statement. BL's passionate defense of Clark reminds us of something important. Sometimes it takes someone special to push a sport forward, whether it was Billie Jean King in tennis, Wayne Gretzky in hockey, or Michael Jordan in basketball. Individual greatness can elevate an entire sport. That's what we're seeing with Clark. She's not just a great basketball player, she's a transformative figure. She's changing how people think about women's basketball. She's bringing new fans to the sport. She's showing young girls what's possible, and that's really what this whole debate comes down to. Do we celebrate exceptional talent, or do we try to downplay it? Do we embrace someone who's bringing unprecedented attention to the sport, or do we question their impact? Lisa Bluder made her decision clear, and now it's up to the rest of the basketball community to decide where they stand. One thing is certain, though. When Clark takes the court for her first WNBA game, she won't just be playing for herself or the Fever. If her college career is any indication, that's exactly what she's going to do. The beautiful irony in all of this is that the criticism has only strengthened Clark's story. Every skeptic, doubter, and questioning voice simply contributes to the story. If there's one thing we know about Caitlin Clark, it's that she thrives when the spotlight is brightest, from intense rivalries to unexpected defenses. The basketball world is still being shaken by the Caitlin Clark impact. As Clark gets ready for what could be the most watched season in league history, Lisa Bl's fervent defense of her former star proves one thing: the impact of a true phenomenon cannot be denied. The first preseason game against the Mystics isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about proving that sometimes one player can truly change everything. With millions of people watching, Clark will have her chance to let her game do the talking. If you're as eager to watch this story as we are unfold, to keep up with everything, use the like button and subscribe. What do you think of Lisa Bl's defense of her former star? Will this mark the start of a new era in women's basketball? Caitlin Clark left a comment below.